White-black Eldrazi against mono-white humans. Very nice.
21 planes.
I like the straightforwardness of this. No nonsense. Oh, he has a 1-drop. Shocking.
Wouldn't have guessed it.
I know. Seth starting off here with a Dragon Hunter. Tom, he's got the black-white dual land from Shadows over Innistrad. That's Forsaken Sanctuary. So we head over to the world champion, Seth Manfield. He will attack here for 2. Ross going to fall down to 18.
And this is going to be a big test for Ross being on the draw this game. We're going to see if these black-white answers, however powerful they are, if they can just keep up with a barrage of 1-drops.
Yeah, my question now, if you're on Tom's side, I don't expect him to have a card like this game number 1, but does he have access to a card like Flaying Tendrils or some sort of Infest-esque effect? That's the big question now. What Seth does not have right now is he does not have another land, so all he can do is play a Town Gossip Monger and simply pass the turn back.
And that might be what Tom needed to open the door back up for him. If it was another 1-drop there and the Glorious Anthem effect on turn 3, the game could just be over so fast.
Love the flavor of this card. Transforms into Incited Rabble. Perhaps we will see that next turn. For Tom, he's going to start by just playing a Battlefield Forge. That will end his turn, actually, as we head back Seth Manfield's way for his 3rd turn of the game. He'll draw a card. We'll see if it's a land. One of the nice things about playing a deck with all the 1-drops is even if you miss your land drop sometimes, it's generally okay.
It is and it isn't.
Okay.
You know, sure, you can still keep making plays, but if you're playing a deck that has, it looks like 15 or more 1-drops in it, you're hoping to go 1-drop and then 2 creatures on turn 2 and 2 or 3 creatures on turn 3.
Thraben Inspector is here. It'll bring a clue along with it. We'll see what else is going to come here for Seth. Did he find another land to play? Now we know we're going to likely see him attack with the Dragon Hunter.
Okay, there's the other land.
Yeah, that's big. Yeah, just Dragon Hunter because he wants to transform the Town Gossip Monger.
Yep.
So that makes sense.
Well, especially if he has one of the payoff cards in Thalia's Lieutenant or Always Watching, that Gossip Monger gets real big real fast.
Yep. Tom's hand does have an ultimate price in it. Curious how he wants to go about using it. It's got a lot of options here, and he's actually just going to go after the Dragon Hunter.
And we talked earlier about reading the format correctly, and we've seen a reasonable number of Eldrazi decks already, and you need to get a little lucky. You know, putting ultimate price in your deck, you need to get the matchups where you can cast the ultimate price against things that matter.
Absolutely. There's a Kithian post-combat. That's actually a pretty big deal here because that could transform as soon as next turn. There's land number 3 for Ross, and now here's an Eldrazi Displacer. Now he'll simply pass the turn back over to Manfield. Manfield will transform that Town Gossip Monger into the Incited Rabble.
They're angry.
Not a happy group.
They got torches and pitchforks, and they want to attack.
One of the many things I love about Shadows of Innistrad and Innistrad in general, just the flavor.
The flavor's so good.
I don't want to say I want to stay here forever, but I'd be happy staying here for a while.
I think that Archangel Avacyn was a 10 out of 10 with its
Same.
flavor.
Yep.
You know, the angel sweeps in to save you at the last possible second, and then if the person it's saving ends up perishing, the angel gets so angry.
Yep.
You know, it just works perfect.
I'm a big fan. I just, a lot of the transform cards just are really, really cool flavor-wise. And even the naming of them is really good, too.
Yes.
They knocked it out of the park with this one.
Yeah, the last time we were here, it was great.
Yeah. Probably, I don't know if it's my favorite time to play Magic, but it's certainly right up there. 1 or 2.
And this time, it's great again.
Yep. To Manfield, we're going to go. He got some damage in with that Incited Rabble. I guess saw Tom just play a land in Shambling Vent and pass the turn back. Not looking to do any blocking with the Eldrazi Displacer just yet, but also has the ability to start activating Eldrazi Displacer. And that's a pretty big deal because even though Displacer can't target itself, it can target Seth's creatures. So that could play a pretty big role in things.
So what is the interaction if Kithian transforms, turns into a creature, and then gets displaced?
I didn't know I was a judge. You're asking. You're treating me as though I'm a judge right now.
I was just looking for a little help in this scenario.
Why are there so many difficult rulings now?
There are not very many simple magic cards anymore.
So if Kithian becomes Gideon, and then Gideon goes active and gets displaced, where does it go? Twitter. Especially you, Chris Lansdale. I know you're watching. Get to work.
Because most of the flip cards just get flipped back.
Yes. Stasis Snare before blocks is a pretty nice play here from Seth Manfield, because he satisfied the requirement here for Kithian to be able to transform.
Yep.
And now no blockers allowed, it appears. Now Ross. Ooh, never mind. He's got an Anguished Unmaking to take care of the Stasis Snare.
Oh, that was big.
He'll lose 3 life, but now he gets to block something. Now the question is, what does he want to block? So that was big.
And we see the versatility of the Anguish Unmaking here. 3 life, kind of a steep cost, but being able to pick and choose what you're getting rid of, so important.
It's a big deal.
Yeah, especially in a world where Stasis Snare and Silk
Wrap.
Wrap are some of the premier removal cards.
Kithian's going to go down. Tom's going to take some more damage here from those 2 creatures coming across. I believe he's going to fall down to 10 after all said and done. Now Seth has a land. He'll simply pass the turn back over to Ross. Ross will draw. Agent Crawler in hand. Reaffirming head nod there. I think he likes what he drew. Yeah, I would too if I drew a Gideon.
All right, we are in this. We're going to be okay.
And now that I live in the Roanoke area, I get to see Todd and Brad and Tom quite a bit, and we do some booster drafts and do some testing for tournaments and things like that. And I've seen the Tom Ross reaffirm head nod.
Sure.
That's how you know things are bad for you.
Yep.
Yeah. It's never a fake head nod.
Back in the driver's seat.
Yeah. It's always you're in trouble head nod.
Well, and I think Seth is in trouble. We're getting in, solidly into the mid game of this game. Tom is going to be able to start deploying some of his more expensive threats, and Seth isn't way ahead on the board at this point.
Yeah, this is a difficult stage. He got off to a pretty good start. Tom has done a pretty nice job of stabilizing it, and that Anguish Unmaking was really big.
Yes.
Again, even though it cost him 3 life, it stopped Kithian from transforming into Gideon, and now Tom might be thinking, I can still turtle up a little bit here with Gideon pumping out Night Allies, and then turn the corner pretty quickly.
Well, and Seth took his whole turn casting that Stasis Snare.
Yeah. Also, it's funny, too, because in a way, it feels like Seth is starting to flood out.
Yeah.
Yeah, again, he's only playing 21 planes, and he kept a 1-lander, and now his last couple of draw steps have been lands, and generally that's a good thing, but he's got so many 1-drops in his deck where having more lands, not ideal. However, we do head back the World Champion's way, and we'll see what he can put together for this, his 6th turn of the game.
Might be a little early to count him out now. I think I'd rather be sitting on Tom's side of the board.
Oh, I never count out the champ.
But there's a reason Seth has won so many games of Magic.
Incited Rabble is going towards Gideon. And the boss will take a look at his hand.
Yeah, does he want to trade the Displacer? It looks like Seth's got the extra mana, so forcing him to pump the Incited Rabble isn't that big of a cost. Yeah, double block is probably the safest block.
We'll see how Seth wants to order the blockers. Keep in mind, Incited Rabble's a 2/3, and 2 activations of Fire Breathing would make it into a 4/3.
He'll just save his mana.
Okay. That means he's got some sort of follow-up that he cares about. Okay, that's a good one, Archangel Tithes.
And that's where his deck tops out.
Yep. The Archangel of Tithes is one of those cards that, it falls into the category of a card that Rally felt like it kind of pushed away.
Yes.
But the first time you saw this card, you're thinking, if I can cast this, this is an obscenely powerful card, and it absolutely is. And now Tom is getting aggressive.
Well, and with the old format being so many colors, it was hard to justify trying to get a triple white card into your deck. Mm-hmm. You already had so many powerful dragons that you could play. There were a bunch of planeswalkers. There were a lot of powerful effects over a bunch of different colors.
So that's going to cash in that clue. But I think this is a good transition from offense to defense, or excuse me, from defense to offense by Tom, because Seth's got a 3-minute inspector. That's it. You gave him a clue. You took care of the Archangel, and now it's time to get you dead.
Yes.
So I actually like that play a lot by Tom, and he can actually threaten lethal next turn if he wants to fire up Shambling Vent. That's 2, 3 from the Displacer, and then 5 from the Gideon. And now just a passing of the turn here for Manfield. Ross will draw a card.
And with Tom so far ahead, we might see him. He's going to play for the win. I thought we might see him play conservative in case there's another Stasis Snare.
No, I like trying to get Seth dead here because, first of all, I think it forces Seth to have Stasis Snare.
It does.
To even have a shot to get back into this thing. And we're going to find out pretty quickly if he does have it or not.
Well, Tom didn't fire up the man land, so it's the creature land. So Seth isn't dead here, but he's going to a pretty bad spot.
Looks like it is Stasis Snare. Going to go after the Displacer. So Stasis Snare will take care of that. Getting to 5, Manfield will fall down to 7.
Okay, sure. The Displacer was kind of insurance against Stasis Snare. If Seth decided to go after the Planeswalker, Tom could just blink it out and have it come back.
That stinks. Tom just passes the turn back with nothing to do. Access to 5 mana. Just bad luck. Oh. An Archangel Avacyn.
Yeah.
To eat my 3-minute Inspector. All right, you win. You win. And that's
save me, Angel. Avacyn's like, you don't need me here. What are you doing?
Yeah, you've got this thing well in hand. Gideon's taking care of it.
All right, here I am.
Tom Ross going to win game number 1 here over Seth Manfield. White-Black Eldrazi up a game over Mono-White Humans as the power of Eldrazi Displacer, Gideon, and Archangel Avacyn on full display. Now we take a look at the sideboards here for both players. We will start with Seth Manfield, who's got 4 Knight of the White Orchid, 3 Eerie Interlude, 3 Archangel Avacyn of his own, and a couple one-ups here in Westvale Abbey, Gideon, Ally of Zendikar, another Stasis Snare, and a Silk Wrap. What do you like there?
Well, the Knight of the White Orchid seem like they're easy additions when you're on the draw. I don't know if he's going to want them on the play. But on the flip side, Tom is a deck that's going to play all of his lands every turn of the game. So if Seth thinks he can get some value out of the Knight of the White Orchid in the mid-game, he might bring them in anyway. Then it's a question of what he expects out of Tom's deck. If he feels like he needs the Archangel Avacyn, it protects his creatures from removal, and it can also attack the opposing Planeswalkers. Probably see those come in. It might be a package with the White of the Knight of the White Orchid, in order to have enough lands to play that card. Because starting with only 21 planes, no other lands in your deck, casting a 5-drop is not going to be consistent.
On the other side of things here for Tom, he's got 3 Tragic Arrogance, 2 Reality Smasher, 2 Read the Bones, 2 Duress, 2 Virulent Plagues, 2 Transgress the Mind, an Eiley, Eternal Pilgrim, and another copy of Gideon.
Sure, I mean, we'll definitely see the Eiley come in.
Yeah.
He's going to want to get a little bit lower here. The Tragic Arrogance seems very good against the go-wide strategy from the opponent, especially if you can leave yourself with 1 big body on the board. Some of these other cards, not super effective against this type of deck.
What I find kind of unique about weekends like this, and when a new set comes in and stuff rotates out and some stuff stays behind, some old cards become good, but also you just forget about some stuff. Like, it's been a long time since we've seen Tragic Arrogance.
Yeah.
And a lot of players, I think, this weekend are playing Mono-White Humans, and that's the kind of card they do not want to see on the other side of the table.
For sure. It's a card that saw some play early, and then I think with like the 4-color Jeskai Black deck being one of the big decks of the format, Tragic Arrogance is just never going to be good against that type of deck.
Yeah.
So it just got relegated back to the binder, And now you can pull them back out of the binders, put them in the sideboards, and find really good matchups for them.
Looks pretty good here. We'll see if Tom's going to bring him in at all soon enough as these players do sideboard and shuffle for game number 2. But right now we are going to talk about the number 2, and that's season number 2 for the SCG Tour, in which that will officially begin Columbus Invitational Weekend. That is next weekend, where we'll wrap up season 1 and start season 2 with the Open there.
I'll be there.
You'll be playing, though.
Oh, yeah.
I'll be in the booth. I'll be joined by Matthias Hunt, Ryan Overturf, and Patrick Sullivan, so that should be a fun one. After that, we'll start up with Milwaukee, first individual open weekend. After that, Indianapolis, to Atlanta, then Orlando, then Dallas. Then we will wrap it up with a couple more shows in Worcester, Columbus, Baltimore, our regional championships, Syracuse, and then the New Jersey Invitational Weekend.
Beautiful New Jersey.
Ah, yes, wonderful New Jersey. You and Patrick both. I can't get away from you two in that state. Now, what we're doing for Season 2 is a little bit different here. We've changed up some playmats. So for each format that you play, you get access to a playmat if you play in the main event or a classic. So for Standard, it's the brand new Sigarda.
Yeah, we couldn't have asked for better artwork on some of these playmats.
Oh, the artwork for these things are awesome. That's Sigarda's Heron's Grace. For Modern, it is Ghost Quarter from Innistrad. And then for Legacy, it is Thalia, Guardian of Thraben. All three of these mats will be available at SCG Tour weekends all throughout Season 2. So free exclusive playmat with entry into any Season 2 Opener Classic. So, for example, in Milwaukee, it's a Modern one. You get that Ghost Quarter for entering, and if you play in a Standard Classic or a Legacy one, either Sigarda or Thalia will be yours.
I'm looking forward to it.
Me too. I know people like official Magic artwork on playmats, and we've got those for you all Season 2. So looking forward to that. Also looking forward to watching Game 2 of this match between Tom Ross and Seth Manfield. And Tom Ross is a player that we've seen quite a bit of, and he is up a game right now. It's a little bit funny. You think Tom would have more open top 8s, but, you know, we see him dominate so often.
Only 10.
Yeah, only 10.
Only 10.
It's not fair because 10 is obviously quite a bit when you've got Todd looming around, and those two are good friends with his 26. But 10 open top 8s, 2 open wins, 3 invitational top 8s, 2 wins, went back-to-back last year. So that was very impressive stuff. Excuse me. 2 years ago.
Yep, not last year.
2 years. The time flies.
Oh, it
That's
does.
Gross. 2 years ago, Tom went back-to-back. Sorry, Tom. Used to parkour, can still do backflips, Mortal Kombat 10 enthusiast, and 5-time Louisiana State champion. One heck of a good guy, too, is Tom Ross, and so is Seth Manfield. Don't want to leave him out. Someone I've known for a very, very long time. Young, and one could argue the best player in the game. He is really something.
I'm always impressed at how quickly players can get good in the game now. Between Magic Online and the big communities that exist, you can get together and play Magic all the time with other very talented players and get real good.
Yeah. Multiple-time Grand Prix champion, current world champion is Seth Manfield. He can really cast him. I was a little bit surprised by the deck choice this weekend. Not to say it's a bad deck or anything. I did not expect to see him play this. I think about him playing Obzon to win the World Championships and playing more mid-rangey stuff, I would say.
Well, there's a bit of a juxtaposition here because we're used to seeing Tom play a lot of the super low go wide strategies. He's a big Atarka Red proponent in last season. So this is kind of a flip-flop between these two players.
Yeah, we always think of Tom, we think of Infect, because how can you not?
Yeah.
And I do think of him as just playing more aggressive decks, but he is mixing up a little bit with the white-black Eldrazi deck that him and some of the Roanoke faithful are playing here.
I guess there's just not enough goblins in the format for him right now.
Yeah, not yet. Now, this white-black deck, you're going to find neither the White Orchid, Eldrazi Displacer, Thought-Knot Seer, Archangel Avacyn, Sorin, Anguish Unmaking, we saw in that previous game, Declaration of Stone, Eiley. There's just a lot of good cards across white and black. I think we're just going to see a lot of white-black decks in general in this format.
Yep.
The question is just, what's the flavor of the week going to be? Is it going to be mid-range? Is it going to be control-y? Or is it going to have kind of an Eldrazi base like this one does?
And even with the Eldrazi base, we don't see him going super aggressive. There's some Reality Smashers in the sideboard, which are great threats, but maybe he just brings them in when he wants to fight opposing Planeswalkers. To me, all the black-white decks are going to be on the control-ish side.
Okay.
Mid-range to late-game type of builds.
Looks like both players have taken mulligan here, so they're taking a look at their 6. Looks like they're both happy enough, so time for each player to scry. Top card will go to the bottom for Seth. For Tom, he's going to leave it on top.
So since they've added the scry rule, the mulligan hurts a little less.
Yes.
In general, I would think both of these decks, taking a couple of mulligans would highly favor the humans deck. The monocolor deck, it's only one color. It's super low to the ground. It can operate off of 1 or 2 mana. But, they each only mulligan once, and then they do get to scry, so it's not a huge factor.
Well, this is what the doctor ordered for Seth, and this is what he's basically trying to do every game.
Yep.
As many 1-drops as possible. He started off with a Dragon Hunter, second turn, another Dragon Hunter, and a Kythian, and now he can transform that Kythian as soon as the third turn of the game, and this is really kind of living the dream.
Yes.
We'll see if the dream comes true, but all of a sudden Tom is in some real trouble.
Sure, and we'll see if Tom if he has Declaration of Stone, he can get 2 cards off his opponent's side if he wants to. He could just deploy, it looks like he has a White in the Night Orchid that he can just deploy as a great blocker. He has the Hedron Crawler, which he can develop his board a little more. He's chosen to go with the Hedron Crawler. I think his hope is next turn possibly get the extra card off of the Knight.
Okay.
He gets the extra land drop if Seth plays another land. And then he's got 3 mana at his disposal with his own land drop and the Hedron Crawler to then play 2 cards in a turn.
Well, here's an attack for 6. Ross is going to fall down to 12, and now here's the transformation. Gideon Battleforge is here.
Because Tom's going to have to start making 2 plays a turn or 1 very powerful play in order to get back into this game.
Yeah. Otherwise, he's going to be dead pretty soon. Let's see if Seth has a follow-up here or not. Keep in mind, he has not activated that Gideon just yet.
Yeah, that Gideon has got 2+ abilities on it, which is a little unique.
And then that 0 ability.
And then, yeah, turn into a potent threat. Get bigger.
This is a Kithian. Gideon.
Sure.
Going to go up.
I don't think that Hedron Crawler is going to be attacking Gideon.
No. As much as Gideon would like that to be the case, I don't think that's going to occur. Let's see what's next here for Tom. Going to start with Knight of the White Orchid. He'll have to take 1 to cast it.
Yep.
Ah, never mind. So I think Tom made a bit of an error there.
Yeah, he was working just off of the assumption that his opponent had played a land and he was going to get to search.
Yep.
You know, you kind of, the previous turn he decided that's the line that he was going to take, and it seems like he was just in a bit of autopilot.
Yep. Because I actually kind of assumed that he was going to get a land.
Yep.
I thought I was going to assume he was going to play Knight, get a land, play a land, and play Eldrazi Displacer.
Yep.
That would be his turn, and that's not even close to what his turn is. Instead, it's either the White Orchid taking a pain to cast it from Caves of Koilos, has to tap the Hedron Crawler for mana so that it doesn't have to run into Gideon and simply pass the turn back. So it actually ends up being a really good sequence of events for Seth, not Tom.
Yeah, a little misstep there that could turn out to be a big problem.
Well, we will find out if Gideon is going to go up or not, and it's just going to stay put. So here's an attack for 4. The follow-up for Manfield is a Council's Lieutenant. Looks like Hedron Crawler the draw here for Ross.
And it doesn't look like Ross has another land in his hand.
And there's Eldrazi Displacer.
Which is not where he wants to be. It's so important that he gets to 5, 6 mana so he can start making some of his big impact plays.
To Seth we go.
But on the flip side, if he is able to live for a turn or 2 and he can resolve a Tragic Arrogance, he might be right back into a favorable position this game.
And you have to wonder if Tragic Arrogance is even something that's on Seth's radar. Because I can't imagine that's a card that's on a lot of people's radar coming into the weekend. It's just not really a card that has seen play a lot over the past handful of months.
Well, and as the game goes longer, even if it is on Seth's radar, it's possible he cannot play around a card like that. His little creatures are so low impact mid to late game that he just needs to have as many onto the board as possible.
Well, Seth with the Plains.
Looks like he's thinking about tapping 3. It's potentially is always watching or a Stasis Snare here.
Both would be pretty good.
Yes.
It's looks like always watching.
It's a magic card.
Yeah. It will be always watching.
Yeah.
Heck of a card here for this deck. Non-token creatures you control get +1/+1, and they have Vigilance. So now Gideon Battleforge will be a 5/5 upon activation.
And we'll see if Seth just wants to shove most of his creatures into the red zone, even though he's going to lose 1 to the,
Yeah, some will die.
Well, the first striking White of the Night Orchid, Knight of the White Orchid. Why do I say that backwards?
You'll get it. It's okay.
Closing in on it.
Yeah.
You know, by the end of the day, maybe by the end of tomorrow. Yeah. Knight of the White Orchid.
There it is.
You know, it's going to first strike off of one of these 3/2s. But lots of damage is going to come in. The Displacer is going to have to trade with something.
Now, if Kithian is attacking, I do not believe the transformation is optimal there.
Optional.
Or optional. What did I say? Optimal?
Well, you are correct that it is.
Technically, I'm right.
Yeah, it is not optimal.
So in a way, that's just a creature that's going to die. So that also makes things a little bit interesting. It'll get its damage across.
Sure.
Of course.
He's cashing in his 1-drop for an additional 3 damage this turn.
Let's consider it a lightning bolt.
Basically the same as a lightning bolt.
Yeah. So here are the blocks by Tom. Consul's Lieutenant will get its Renown counter. A bunch of things will die. Knight of the White Orchid is what Tom is left with. So here is the transformation for Kithian into Gideon. So now Seth gets to decide which one he wants to keep. He probably wants to keep the newer one.
Well, the new one he can go up with, forcing the knight to attack.
Sure.
Which leaves him a little more room next turn.
Mm-hmm. So we see where Seth does go. He will make Knight of the White Orchid attack. Keep in mind, Ross is at 1 life here. I'm not sure what he can draw to get him out of this sticky situation.
Very precarious position.
And he's going to concede the game. So Seth Manfield's going to win game number 2 here over Tom Ross. Mono White Humans, White Black Eldrazi getting ready for a 3rd game here.
Yeah, we saw at the end of that game, Tom could have gotten a Gideon on the board, made a token, but then the Knight of the White Orchid would have to attack, leaving him with only 1 blocker, 1 life to work with. Not going to get the job done.
Back to the sideboards for these 2 great players, so we'll take a look as well, see what they are working with here. Now, I'll bring up an interesting question for you. Now, Seth's on the draw.
Yeah.
And the Knight of the White Orchids. Do you bring him in if you're Seth?
Well, he might bring them in just every game that he's on the draw.
Okay.
It's possible that through his testing, the card's not good enough on the play.
Okay.
And it's good enough on the draw. So, even if he doesn't want to bring in Archangel Avacyn and the Westvale Abbey, he might bring in the Knights anyway.
Okay. This will be an interesting decision. I think that Knight is still good, the matchup, and the fact that he could get another land and work his way maybe towards Archangel Avacyn, Gideon, all that stuff could make it worth it.
Tell me, Eerie Interlude, that's the card that flickers all your creatures?
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
But you can choose how many.
Oh, it's
you don't have to do them
optional.
all. Yeah, you could choose. You get to pick and choose how many.
Any number of creatures.
Correct. Because I had to cast that spell for 0
Okay.
at the pre-release to transform my thing in the ice. So boom, I know how it works. Another thing I know how it works, States, taking place 2 weeks from now, during Pro Tour weekend, which we know the world champion will be at. But if you're not qualified for the Pro Tour, you can check out States and all the information right now.
On April 23rd and 24th, don't miss the StarCityGames.com State and Provincial Championships. With Standard on Saturday and Modern on Sunday throughout the United States, Canada, and Puerto Rico, there are plenty of chances to become a champion. Every player that registers receives an exclusive art print, top 8 competitors receive an exclusive playmat and pin, and each champion receives a championship playmat, medal, and an invitation to any of the next 3 StarCityGames.com invitationals. Each event will also include an oversized token door prize customized with their location. Visit go.starcitygames.com/states to learn how to become a champion today.
April 23rd and the 24th.
You know I'm a state champion.
I do. You know, I saw you at a tournament with the medal.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Nice.
I feel obligated to show up and defend.
As you should.
You know?
States is a very important tournament. Become a champion is a big deal.
But I also have the option
Okay.
to go out and conquer a new state.
Oh.
So I live in New Jersey, but I went and hung out with some friends and played in the Pennsylvania State
Okay.
tournament.
So you just stole their championship.
And yeah, I took it home with me, put it in my pocket. I was like, you guys are barely men compared to me. And now I can go do that for another state.
A la CM Punk taking the WWE Championship and just leaving with it.
Yeah.
Taking it to New Japan Pro Wrestling, other places. You mimic that behavior. You went to Pennsylvania, you took their title, and you left.
Yeah, and maybe I'll travel to New York this time.
Okay.
And just stick that bad boy in my pocket too.
Perhaps. Delaware, is that close to you?
Not close enough.
Not close enough? Okay. You want to keep it close and then branch out. I understand. Well, I will be in Roanoke, Virginia. I might be competing in the Virginia State Championships.
Go get them.
Yeah. Take some of those home with me.
I hear that's a soft field in
the
Roanoke area.
Yeah, the Roanoke area, not a lot of really good talent there, so
Yeah.
I feel like my chances of winning very high. Very, very high. Vegas odds would say if I was a betting man, which I'm not, but if I were, which I'm not, I'd say I have great odds.
Okay.
That's what I would say.
That's what Vegas would say?
That's what Vegas would say.
What's the line here? He has great odds. Yeah, all right.
That's all it says. That's all it says. I don't do their job for them.
Sure. And I'm sure if you don't win that, none of the other announcers will berate you about this.
No, that would definitely not happen.
Mm-mm.
I don't think it would be mentioned at all.
You're the boss. Not Tom, the boss.
Not
Ross,
that boss.
But no.
I think it'll just be swept under the rug.
All right.
I like both these decks. Again, this white-black Eldrazi deck I think we're going to see a decent amount of because a lot of the Roanoke folks are playing it. So we'll get a better idea of how this works over the course of the tournament, assuming that they do well. For mono-white humans, again, you can build this deck so many different ways. We saw a little bit earlier from Emma Handy. She had a white-blue version.
Yep.
I know that you've got a white-green version with you in your backpack that you played a couple of games with that you like. And now we've got Seth with a really low-to-the-ground version, which is 21 planes. No, like, Westfield Abbey.
Sure. Well, like I said, it's especially for new formats, you kind of want to test out the extremes. So he went as low as possible with so many one-drops, and he's like, maybe people aren't going to be prepared for this. And if they're not prepared, they're just dead.
Yeah, maybe there are not going to be any Flaying Tendrils, Radiant Flames, any of those match removal effects.
Yep.
Maybe those are just all gone. And if those are not around, pretty good shape for Seth is both players are going to keep their 7. Tom Ross going to start with a Shambling Vent. Seth is, I assume, going to start with a 1-drop. He will with Town Gossipmonger.
Probably one of his better one-drops.
Yeah, good one. This is one of Tom's better 2-drops in Hedron Crawler. Hedron Crawler, I imagine, not thought of as a constructed staple. But this might be a card that's good now.
I was about to say, it is now. Yeah. We're out of the world of Llanowar Elves and, Noble Hierarchs. Those don't exist in Standard anymore.
Yeah, I don't know how much more we're ever going to see of those things in Standard. Elvish Mystics and the like.
Yeah.
Let's see what Seth has here. It's going to be a Thraben Inspector. It'll bring a clue along with it.
Yeah, you're not a betting man, but if you were...
Which I'm not.
You might bet that he's got more one-drops.
Yeah, chances are.
And this is Seth's ideal start here, where he has a 1-drop on 1, and it's probably his best 1-drop. It transforms into a very large attacker. Mm-hmm. And then turn 2, Kithian with another 1-drop in order to transform as soon as possible.
Yeah, it's interesting. Town Gossipmonger is a card that just when you analyze it, a lot of people want their 1-drops to start just attacking on turn 2.
Yep.
This card, I think its upside is so high that it's fine that if you start with that on 1, turn 2 you play something transforming, and then you're actually starting attacking on turn 3.
Yep.
You're still going to be able to keep pace with the damage. And also it turns into a 2-3 and not like a 2-1, and that's relevant as well. Yeah,
through the additional power, the additional toughness, and the modified fire-breathing ability, the card is very potent.
You'll get your beatdowns on eventually. You're just not going to start on turn 2.
No, you just take 1 turn off.
Yeah.
They got to get angry. Give them a little time to get angry.
And they are furious. Guy has a blazing torch in his hand.
I wouldn't block that guy.
No. Tom, I'm going to take a long look at his hand, see how he wants to move forward. Kithian is causing some real issues here, and I was curious about how good this card would be in these mono-white human decks or the various iterations of humans. It's looked very good so far. Yeah,
when you're this low to the ground where you don't even play a 4-drop Gideon Ally of Zendikar, the 1-drop is so good. Mm-hmm. It's not competing for that space with another card.
It's a Hedron Crawler, a Knight of the White Orchid that does not get to search up a land, and just the passing of the turn by Ross over to Manfield. Manfield will transform his Town Gossipmonger into Incited Rabble. Untap those 2 planes, take his 3rd turn of the game.
And that was actually a pretty good turn for Tom here. The first strike on the Knight of the White Orchid.
Got there.
Nailed it.
Yep.
Means that he has the option of forcing Seth to use his whole turn, paying to make Kithian indestructible. Well, all of that's moot. All of my analysis does not matter. Silk Wrap comes down. Seth is able to attack with everything. Kithian's going to transform.
Things are getting a little more difficult now.
Tom takes a bunch of damage.
Yeah.
But this is much better position than last game because Tom has access to so many more lands.
This is true. He's got a lot more mana to work with.
Yeah, he's going to be able to cast his high-impact spells.
Now, that was a really good turn for Seth, and Tom's going to take a look at Gideon Battleforge. Wants to make sure he knows how the +2 works. Up to 1 target creature an opponent controls attacks Gideon Battleforge during its controller's next turn if able.
So, obviously, if it becomes tapped at some point before the attack step, it is not able to attack.
Correct. And now, Seth will just pass the turn back. To Tom we go. Access to a lot of mana, and he just picked up a copy of Archangel Avacyn.
I think that was his 2nd copy. I believe he already had 1 in his hand.
Okay.
And with Gideon's kind of tricky must-attack ability,
It's kind of gumming him up a little bit.
Tom might have to deploy one of these angels on his main phase.
Now this actually gets kind of interesting too, because he's also got a copy of Anguish Unmaking in his hand.
Yep.
And okay, do I want to cast that? I'd like to be able to kill that Gideon, but like that's basically my whole turn, so I can't double spell. A deck as powerful as his, he wants to double spell and not leave any mana left over.
Yes. Well, and there's the Silk Wrap just sitting out there. Maybe later in the game he can be real tricky, Anguish Unmaking the Silk Wrap, or another dangerous creature. There's a lot of options for him here. But fortunately, he has the mana to capitalize on the options.
All right, so Declaration of Stone is step 1. Seth is going to get another clue. And now, does he want to cast Anguished Unmaking now? It looks like the answer is no. Now the big question is there an upside to holding it? Could he get himself into some trouble here by playing it this way? Seth is reaching in such a fashion. Yeah, Gideon's going to come in here.
So what he does.
Yeah, so here's Anguish Unmaking. Tom's going to have to take 3 to cast it. Now Gideon down. This is like the 3rd, maybe 4th time we've seen Anguish Unmaking be cast this tournament. 3 life sucks to take, but it solves the problem.
Instant speed, and it's so versatile that it's hard to argue the other side of it.
Yeah.
3 life is nothing when you're getting all of those benefits.
Here's a Council's Lieutenant. Oh, yes, the quick draw and pass.
Yeah, didn't draw my land. Shoot.
Just mana screwed again.
Shoot.
Yeah. Here's a 3rd land for Seth. That 3rd land's pretty important because it represents Stasis Snare. And now here's the attack.
Save me, Angel.
Yeah. May I block? You may block.
And he actually chose... He played the safer play. He played around Stasis Snare here.
Which I like a lot.
So if he plays the Angel before blocks and his opponent has Stasis Snare, he's going to take the damage. The Lieutenant's going to get his... Not heroic. It's
the renown counter.
The renown counter, and his Angel's not going to be on the board anymore. So he played a little safer, not killing one of his opponent's creatures, but he ensures that he takes no damage and doesn't get blown out if the opponent has the Stasis Snare.
I think a smart block there by Tom. I also think that situation is going to present itself a lot where you just draw very quickly, pass the turn, go 5 mana, but there's nothing your opponent can do.
Yeah.
That's the thing. The card is so powerful. What are they going to... If they don't attack and you don't have it, it's a nightmare.
It even has vigilance now.
Yeah, that's the other thing.
Like Tom can attack and block with it for the rest of the game.
Yeah.
And what is Seth's deck going to do? Take a turn off? My little white creatures, they'll get better next turn. If he has the Angel, you can't attack this turn or next turn if you're trying to play around it. You better just attack and hope he doesn't have it.
Yeah, I think that's the only option. That's the play Seth made, and Tom did have the Archangel Avacyn.
So some of the other mid-rangey decks or control decks can choose a different path in order to fight the Angel, but Seth's deck is not set up to do that.
That's a Dragon Hunter. This is a Thaya's Lieutenant. Creatures are getting a little bit larger now. Now, Dragon Hunter, really good at reaching up and blocking dragons. Not so good at reaching up and blocking angels.
Nope.
No.
And that +1/+1 counter on the Lieutenant is not a renown counter.
Correct. That is important. Now, the easy thing here for Tom to do is just say start by attacking with Archangel Avacyn. But things get a lot more complicated after that.
Sure.
So Tom is just going to play a land and pass the turn back. So just want to make sure that's pretty clear with the renown there. It gets a +1/+1 counter if it isn't renowned. So it has one because of Thaya's Lieutenant, and it could be getting an additional one here in just a moment. Manfield in some trouble right now, but I don't think he's out of it.
No. Hey, Tom doesn't look like he's going to close out the game that fast. The Angel will attack for 4 a turn, but Seth still has a lot of life to work with. He's got a couple of clues in play. so he can go digging for some more cards. So the game definitely isn't wrapped up yet, but
Ooh. Da.
but it is a tough spot for Seth here.
Yeah.
He's got to keep attacking, but he's probably he knows he's probably staring in the face of another angel here. So the attacks don't accomplish what he wants them to accomplish.
The longer we wait, the worse it is.
Yes.
That's the issue.
Especially as Tom starts to get more and more mana onto the board. Then, if he just deploys Sorin, he's killing your best creature and gaining life. So things don't get better.
This is the thing that some players dislike about aggressive white decks like this, because you lack reach. So the thought process is, right, I hate that I have no choice but to attack like this. It's just part of what you sign up for. You also sign up for some really aggressive draws that people can't beat.
Yep.
Having your fingers crossed here, well, that stinks, but kind of part of it.
Yeah, and with this attack,
their stasis snare. And I think Tom's going to set him up here pretty good. Another Archangel.
Yeah, and Tom's not even upset to see that.
The stasis snare doesn't matter too much, but also Tom doesn't accomplish much in combat here. I guess, because he doesn't get to block with that Archangel.
Correct. He didn't kill anything this turn, but he only took 1 damage.
Okay.
And he's going into his next turn with 1 more mana. His opponent took the whole turn, casting a stasis snare when Tom already had the redundant copy of Archangel of Avacyn. So, all in all, I think that was a win for Tom. Seth starts to run out of cards here. Tom continues to attack with his basically Sarah Angel. He does have the creature land that's going to gain some life that he can start utilizing.
Shambling Vent is there on defense. Question is, what does Tom have left in the chamber? A Battlefield Forge and a mystery card.
Looks like a Declaration in Stone. I'm not 100% on that. But we can see this is one of the matchups where the clues... Seth already has multiple clues in play. Giving him another clue
doesn't really matter.
Does not matter. Seth hasn't had time to cash in any of the earlier clues, so the game might resolve with clues still on the board.
Back to Manfield we go. 3 clues on the battlefield. Stasis Snare and Silk Wrap is taking care of a few permanents. Thalia's Lieutenant is a 1/1. Dragon Hunter is a 3/2. And then
now without a Stasis Snare, Seth has to start worrying about if he attacks with everyone and one of the Hedron Crawlers dies, Avacyn is going to get angry and flip over and clean up the rest of his board.
Yep. Which is not okay.
No.
And it's a, 2/3 Thraven Spectre. That's the other permanent for Seth right now. Seth with a couple cards to work with. But where does he go from here, and can he beat Archangel Avacyn? Is it as good as advertised?
Average card.
They'll print anything. Going to start by getting a clue.
Trying to figure things out.
Curious to see what that yielded, Seth. Also, the Shambling Vent's playing a huge role in this game.
Yeah, Seth being a little bit cagey with his hand here. I can appreciate that.
Yeah, I don't want to show anyone. Close to the vest. Another 1-drop.
Another redundant clue.
Yep. Thraven Inspector will bring that clue along. It'll also put a +1/+1 counter.
It's being very careful here.
Yep. Archangel Avacyn looks like it's ready to come in, and it is. You get to sit behind how comfortable it is to have Archangel Avacyn.
Yes.
Just nudge for 4, go.
It attacks, it blocks. It saved all of his creatures multiple times.
And if you make it angry, she'll kill all of your creatures.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, Tom almost wants... If Archangel flips here, it's a lethal threat.
There's always watching. Oh, I would not be surprised. in the least if Tom kills one of his own creatures. If he gets the opportunity to. Seth with just an always watching and a passing of the turn. See what comes next. Tom with a lot to think about here. Again, the easy part is just attacking with the Archangel. What comes after that is the difficult part.
Yeah, we don't know what card he drew for the turn.
Mm-hmm. Oh, there comes Archangel Avison.
And even Seth's decision not to attack last turn. He knows that he's running out of time. The Angel's going to get the job done next turn.
Knight of the White Orchid was the draw for Tom. Tough spot for both these guys.
Yeah, so Tom has to consider if he wants to pay a life and lose a blocker by deploying the Knight, because then he wouldn't have the mana to activate Shambling Vents and also block with the Hedron Callers.
Mm-hmm.
And now Seth is in the position where he either needs to win the game or get that Archangel off of the board.
Not a great spot.
No, not where you want to be.
No. Also, Archangel domes you for 3.
Yep.
All right, Seth. He's tapping mana.
All right, Seth, impress us.
Solve a clue.
Probably can't do that again.
Expert analysis.
Yeah, oh yeah. I'll be here all day, ladies and gentlemen.
Well, you claim. You claim. You've already threatened to leave multiple times.
That's fair. I just do that so I feel like I'm in the driver's seat.
You are in control.
We know who has the power in this relationship here.
Manfield taking a long look at things. Don't have a great idea of what he's working with in his hand, but he's attacking with all of his creatures.
The blob attack.
Yeah.
All of these.
Yeah.
I'm not going to line them up all in one nice even row.
Just this massive cardboard is attacking you.
Yeah.
All right. Shambling Vent going to go active.
Probably takes, another mana to do that.
Going to use a Hedron Crawler to do it. Maybe a little surprising there. Interesting. Now, unless I'm missing something. Archangel Avison's going to die right now? Maybe? Because Dragon Hunter's a 4-3?
Yeah.
Okay, that's a little bit better of a block.
A little bit. Yeah, Tom's feeling this out.
Well, it's weird, right? Because he might actively want Archangel Avison to die, because then he could potentially finish Seth off with just the Shambling Vent after everything gets killed.
Maybe, but the Angel's there to do it by itself. Why?
Yeah, it's true. And actually, yeah, if the Angel died, then it wouldn't transform and deal 3.
Correct.
So, yeah, never mind. Ignore that. Yeah, and I think Seth's going to extend the hand.
Seth's saying that's,
Tom Ross is going to win this match here over Seth Manfield. It appears 2-1. White-Black Eldrazi going to take care of mono-white humans.
Still a really close game, but we saw when Tom had enough lands to deploy all of his cards, they were just too much better.
Well, this I think, game teaches us a lot about this new format.